Yo guys, welcome back to another video. As you guys can see, we're doing a bit of a different angle today. Thought I'd switch it up a little bit, so I might do more of these. Let me know what you guys think. But yeah, today we are covering the first part of Vinland Saga. I know this video's I've been trying to make it for a while, just been putting it off. I haven't read any more Vinland Saga, because I told myself I wouldn't read anymore until I cover what I have read already. So I have one more volume left of the Farmland arc. So once I finish that, then I'll do, the Farmland review. So yeah, today's video, we're just covering the prologue, or the war arc, I guess. The second video, I plan on covering Farmland, just Farmland specifically, and then I'll probably do a third video covering the next two arcs, I guess, because I know Vinland is in its final arc, so I guess whatever volumes 8 through 12 are, I still have to get the final volume as well, or not final volume, but the newest volume rather, so that'll probably still be a while from now. But yeah, we're covering the first part, I guess you would call it, and yeah, let's get right into it. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Vinland Saga, this is a manga series by author Makito Yukimura. Also, I believe he did the space series. Was it Planet Tess? I think that's the one. So yeah. Anyway, he's known for having amazing artwork, and I would show you guys some of the artwork, but with the current state of copyright, I'm kind of not going to be doing that anymore. But yeah, Vinland Saga, historical series, has to do with like Vikings and what they call the Vinland sagas, which essentially hundreds of years ago, like 11th century. So Vikings, the explorers from Scandinavia, they discovered North America before, like hundreds of years before Christopher Columbus sailed. So, but they discovered, and they called it Vinland, or like Vineland, basically meaning that it was very fertile, because where they were in like Iceland, not fertile really, not excellent for farming. So, and it was a lot warmer too, and it happened to be like, I think it was like Canada, like eastern Canada, and like the northeast here in the United States, so like New England, that sort of area. And so the exploits of the Vinland Saga is like, as like a historical note, big names being Thorfinn Karlsefni and Leif Erikson, who are both characters in the series, Thorfinn being the main character, but it's definitely it takes a lot of freedoms, I guess. So it's definitely a historical fiction. They take a lot of series dealing with this time period do this. I've seen many comparisons. I even compare it myself to one of my favorite book series, Saxon Tales by Bernard Cornwell. In fact, so yeah, this is the first Saxon Tales book, titled The Last Kingdom. One of my favorite book series of all time. I see it compared to that quite a bit. Also, the show Vikings, which I actually have never seen, but something that these series all do is they take prominent figures from this general time period and sort of like combine them into like a mesh, into like this one story, I guess, to like not necessarily saying that they were alive at this exact time, because again, it was so long ago that like there aren't many records saying when exactly they were alive, so they just kind of like throw them all together and throw them in this like general time period. Vinland Saga starts out with the main character Thorfinn, who's a very little kid, and his father is an ex-Jomsviking, which is like the Danish military, pretty much. I guess that's what I would compare it to. So yeah, but he was a deserter. Anyway, this whole event happens. They're gonna go to war, so they find out that his father Thors is still alive, and they try and bring him back into it. Turns out it's actually a plot to kill him, like to punish him for being a deserter. But when Thors sets out to go to war, little Thorfinn hops on the boat with him, like sneaks on, and so now, he's wrapped into it when he shouldn't have been. So they all get caught in a trap, and there's these hired mercenaries, whose leader is a Skelad. He basically, so Thors is like this super powerful, like, beast of a man. He's called Thors the Troll. Like he's an utter beast. Like, he's taking out fools. Like, they're coming at him in, like, groups, and they've got swords and axes, and he's just bashing heads in with his fists. Like, he's insane. So, they end up killing him, only because they take little Thorfinn hostage, and are like, lay down your arms, or we'll kill your son. And then they kill Thors. So now, little Thorfinn, filled with, grief and rage and hatred, is forced to deal with it. And so he, as a little kid, he vows that he will kill a Skelad. So he kind of tags along with their group, their band of mercenaries, and sort of does their dirty work in a way. Like, basically he's trying to earn a duel with a Skelad, because he's not just gonna kill him. He needs to kill him in a fight, like kill him honorably, to avenge his father. So a Skelad isn't just gonna be like, okay, I'll duel you. He's kind of manipulating Thorfinn and using his hate to his own benefit, and basically just using Thorfinn. So, like, you do this chore for me, then I'll duel you, So that's sort of how this whole story works here in the beginning. Thorfinn, he becomes, he grows up essentially like on his own. He doesn't want to rely on these people who he hates. So he's forced to grow up, and all he knows is warfare and killing from a very young age. Over and over again, Thorfinn challenges a Skelad to these duels, and there's been times when, like, he'll kind of get close, but a Skelad just knows how to manipulate people and use them. So he basically, will slander Thorfinn's father in the middle of a battle, and then, like, Thorfinn will just, like, go rage mode and then lose all sense and basically bring about his own defeat. But Skelad knows how to use people. So yeah, that's basically the whole story here in the beginning. Stuff starts to get crazy though when we learn of Prince Canute. So if you guys don't know, in history there was an actual Canute who was a monarch of England, and so this is another one of those, like, famous historical figures that they kind of tied into the story, and it's like a fictionalized version of this real life person. So Canute, he has like a mentor sort of father figure named Ragnar, who and Canute's like kind of a baby. He's girlish, he's an heir to the throne of England, but he has no experience whatsoever. And all of these men don't want to look to Canute as their leader because he's kind of womanly, he's a wimp, so he doesn't have what it takes to become a great leader. But Skelad is kind of put into a situation where he's escorting Canute and Ragnar through these lands to I guess for his own benefit, but also because he wants Canute to become a great leader. But turns out Canute's father, and spoiler alert, King Sven, or Swain, I'm pretty sure it's like spelt Swain, but I'm pretty sure it's just Sven. Gingsven is actually trying to assassinate his son, Canute, to basically hand over the throne to Canute's older brother, whose name is escaping me at the moment. I don't remember what his name was, but so that happens. But then, in an attempt to sort of make Canute a stronger person, Escalad assassinates Ragnar, who was babying him this whole time, and it forces Canute into a situation where he has to grow up. And that's when Canute becomes a leader. He unites this band of Vikings led by Torkel, who's, again, just a beast of a man. And just to explain and put into perspective how much of a beast Tors was, Torkel was, scared of Tors. That's how crazy Tors was. And, Torkel, he's, almost like a bear. He's just a massive mountain of a man. There was one part where he had a spear and threw it down a hill and, skewered, 3 people. It was insane. Anyway, basically, Canute, Torkel is after Canute also. So, Canute unites everybody, makes his own army, and then they're going to Canute's father. I don't remember exactly, because, again, it's been a minute since I've read Vinland Saga. But they go to his father, I think, because his dad is trying to assassinate him. So, the closer they get to him, the more difficult it becomes, because they're sort of in the limelight, and if everybody else, because if they're far away, right, his dad can just send assassins and have him killed somewhere and can blame it on something else. But the closer they are together, the more suspicion rises if somebody were to die. If Canute died, and it was common knowledge that he was in contention for the throne, and he just dies. It's oh, wait a minute, there's some foul play here. But if it happened over a great distance, nobody would really bat an eye. So they kind of make their way closer, and they're at the Danish capital, I think, or it was something this common area, the headquarters. It was something like that, the capital or whatever. And there's this whole thing, and they're trying to work around. There's enemy spies and stuff trying to gather intel, and they can't openly be threatening, because that would be treason. So they gotta work around it and stuff. Yeah, it was a really dope moment, and there was one part where they had to have a slave woman dress up like Canute, because there were assassins, and just out of nowhere they're on a boat, and this lady just gets impaled with an arrow, and there's of course that was supposed to be Canute. They make Canute dressed like a slave, and this slave woman dressed like a prince or princess, because again, Canute's kind of womanly. And so the slave lady dies, and that's how oh crap, they're actively hunting this guy. Again, this is just a very dumbed down synopsis, or not really even a synopsis, but just a general plot explanation. Everything that happens in this first part, I'm leaving out a lot of stuff that happens, just because I don't think it's necessary to explain, just so that you guys get you understand the story. There's plenty of stuff they talk about history and all that, and there was a lot of details. I forgot to mention that Escalad's band was also being hunted down by Torkel. That was something that I probably should have mentioned. I'm trying to just get the basis done, and then I'll go back and tell you guys my thoughts about certain stuff here in a few. During this time, when they're at this central hub area, Thorfinn ends up reuniting with Leif Erikson, who was a great friend of Thor's, and who was with them when they fell into the trap. And Leif Erikson, after that thing happened, Thorfinn had disappeared, and because he was with Escalad. So Leif Erikson had promised Thorfinn's mother back home, that he would like track him down and he would bring him home. So this whole time, like probably a decade or more, probably like 12 years, I want to say, he's just been searching for Thorfinn. And they finally reunite, but Thorfinn has no want to go back home because he's just hell-bent on revenge. He's gonna kill a Skelad. So on the flip side, there's this whole plan. So there's like this whole party meeting, I guess, because they finally won England. So they're gonna like hand over like different pieces of land to all these different lords and whatnot, just different courtesies and, you know, spoils, like dividing it up to different lords. So they're there, and what they do, Eskelad comes up with the plan that the easiest way to put Canute in power is to just take out Sven. So just he gets a chance to get up close to Sven, and like Sven was low-key roasting him because it turns out Eskelad is from Wales and they were gonna try and conquer Wales, and Eskelad didn't like that. It was a whole thing. So he got up close and just lopped his head off with this sword. It was one of the dopest moments I've ever read in manga, because the thing about Eskelad is you really hate him, but you kind of love him at the same time because he's just so awesome. He's just like no F's given, like all the time, just wrecking everybody. He's very skilled. He's a terrible dude, but he's just awesome. So, you know, he just lops the king's head off, and of course that causes mass disarray. Everybody is like, you know, there's a bunch of guards and stuff, and they're all going after Eskelad. Skelad's killing everybody, and the whole idea is that, you know, Eskelad's playing the part of a madman at this point. He was driven mad. So, and then Canute can use this as an opportunity to take the throne and take charge. So, again, well, not again, but eventually, after many guards and people were killed, Eskelad gets taken down. And it's by the hand of Canute. Canute just, like, stabs him, and then he just, like, alright, I'm dead. So he lays down. He's dying. Thorfinn, you know, hears all this, you know, commotion and walks right in there. And he's, like, telling Eskelad that he better not die, because Thorfinn's whole thing for, like, the last 12 years, more than, you know, that's his whole life right there. You know, he was gonna kill Eskelad. And so Eskelad basically just dying in his arms, and Thorfinn didn't get to kill him, and it was actually technically Canute that killed him. And that's kind of where the arc ends. Thorfinn, I can't remember if it's explained or not, but one way or another, Thorfinn ends up going into slavery, and yeah, that's where the prologue ends. The ending of the prologue is, in my opinion, what makes this next arc so great. Now, I hear a lot of people on the internet talking badly about the farmland arc, because the way I understand it, the prologue is where most of the major action happens in the entire series. Like, it's kind of like a high octane, you know, there's a lot of battles. And again, I didn't explain everything. There was plenty of major, like, big battles that happened and awesome fight scenes. I just didn't really talk about those. So most of the action happens in the prologue. The farmland arc is definitely a lot slower. It's called the farmland, so, you know, and that's not to say that there is no action in the farmland arc whatsoever, because it still gets hype. Trust me, I feel like people were overreacting when they were saying, "Oh, it's so boring." It's not boring at all. I don't know. I'm not gonna go too much into it here because I definitely want to save that for the next video. But the farmland arc is amazing, and what makes it so amazing is precisely, you know, how the prologue ended and how Thorfinn was left after Skelad's death. It just makes the farmland arc, it's a beautiful arc. I love farmland, and I'll get more into that in the next Vinland video I do. Now, I'm gonna get into like more of, I guess, what I usually call my general review stuff. First of all, Vinland Saga, the art is freaking fantastic. I would compare it, now this might be heresy, depending on who you ask, manga purists, but I would even compare the art of Vinland Saga with something like Vagabond or Berserk. I have both of which are on my shelf right here. Love the art in both. Vagabond has, now this is no disrespect to Berserk, love Berserk. The art in Vagabond, I haven't read through it, I've skimmed through it quite a bit though. Fantastic. I love the art in Vagabond. The art in Berserk, especially like the big old spreads and like the giant monsters and stuff in Berserk. Amazing. Kentaro Miura, beautiful artwork. May he rest in peace. Vinland Saga though, consistently throughout the entire series blew me away with its amazing artwork. And maybe I don't know, I loved the anime also. The anime, this isn't a review of the anime, but the anime had beautiful animation. The music was like, the sounds, like it was so atmospheric. And I guess watching the anime first, it definitely warped the way I saw the manga as I was reading it, because you get those panels of like, a horizon, and in my mind I heard like the beautiful music that would play in the anime, and it just made it so much better. Overall, I really love the artwork in Vinland Saga. It's amazing. There's not really much more to say about it. The landscapes, the beautiful scenery, actually, the battle scenes are so gory and like so detailed. It's a bloodbath, and I love that. I mean, call me insane, but like dope, gruesome battle scenes. I gotta have it. I mean, I might be a little bit crazy saying that, but I really enjoy that kind of stuff. It's definitely something for me, especially, like, I don't know. I like dope, bloody battle scenes. I mean, what can I say? So it's very detailed. Also, one thing I did notice that I was a little bit surprised about when watching the anime, and then going to the manga, I was like, oh, well, now that makes a lot more sense. The manga is definitely a lot more open, I guess, lenient on nudity. There's definitely there's some moments. It's not, straight up like, something's happening, but like, there's some parts, I'll say that. Which I was surprised about in the anime, because I was like, I feel like something like this would definitely be more lenient on nudity, and it wasn't. And then in the manga, again, I was like, oh, okay, makes more sense. Again, same thing goes with the language. This is definitely a seinen manga. There's quite a bit of F-bombs. I mean, I don't care. I'm not turned off by that whatsoever. Again, my dad and I watched Vinland Saga, the anime, together, and I was like, I remember having this conversation with him. I was like, it's almost like their reservoir of curse words that they use is pretty slim. I feel like they're Vikings. They'd be using a lot more harsh language, and like, I was kind of confused by that watching the anime, and then again in the manga it made more sense. So I was like, oh, okay. That's just some things I noticed. Again, doesn't turn me away from the series whatsoever. I could care less about language, honestly. The violence, amazing, love it. And again, that makes me sound insane, but if you're gonna do a series like this, you gotta do it right. The storytelling in the prologue is definitely very good. Definitely like where the overall story. If you guys know anything about me, I definitely love a good revenge quest. Love that kind of stuff. That's why reading through Naruto, I was such a huge fan of Sasuke's character up until after, he completes his quest. And then suddenly he became kind of a crybaby, and like his argument no longer made any sense. And that's why I was so disappointed with Sasuke's character by the end of Naruto. Berserk, awesome series, love that. I think Vagabond is also sort of a revenge quest. Vinland Saga just works for me. Absolutely love that part about it. But the storytelling, again, really starts to shine here in the next arc. And yeah, I mean, it's fantastic so far. Absolutely love it. Definitely I'd say Vinland Saga's top 5 series of all time for me. And that goes anime, manga. So yeah, top 5 definitely up there. Really enjoy it. Another thing, again, I talked about this on the channel a bit before when I was talking about stuff like 7 Deadly Sins. Again, if you guys know anything about me, any like sort of ties to Arthurian legend, you've got me sold. Like, there's a whole part, kind of a, I guess, sort of a minor, I don't know how major it is, honestly, but basically, Askeladd is believed to be a descendant of King Arthur, or King Arturus, or whatever. And yeah, there was a whole talking about like Avalon and stuff. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all watching the anime for the first time, and then when they were talking about that, I was like, I'm sold. Like, I love Arthurian legend. I'm not extremely knowledgeable about Arthurian legend, but I know about it for the most part. The big stuff that is, Knights of the Round Table, the Grail Quest, Lady of the Lake, Sword in the Stone, which is completely separate from Excalibur. A lot of people like to combine the Sword in the Stone and Excalibur, but the way I see it and the way I understand it, they're different entities altogether, because King Arthur received Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake. Anyway, that's kind of a tangent. It's a common misconception. Anyway, that kind of stuff is just those details. Also, just this whole time period in general. I like Vikings and stuff, like, historical eras, I guess. Like Vikings, samurai, that stuff. I mean, knights, even. I love all that stuff. And it's sort of everything about this series is sort of the perfect storm to create the perfect series for me. But yeah, guys, that's going to be about it for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy my review. I know this is a bit different. I decided, doing a standing video, and I definitely talked a lot in this video, so, there was points when kind of had to catch my breath. So excuse that. Not used to doing standing videos where I'm talking a lot like this. But I thought this was a pretty good review. I don't know when the next one's going to come out, because I have yet to finish Farmland. Again, I have one more left, and I had stopped reading it so that I could make this video before I read any more. So whenever I finish it, I'll make the next one at some point. So yeah, stay tuned for that, because Vinland Saga, one of my favorite series. Can't wait to get caught up, and I've got a lot to say about Farmland, especially because, unlike a lot of people, again, underrated arc, and I prefer it over the prologue. So yeah, I'm setting the bar high for this next video. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.